Texas is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, the issue before us today is whether the U.S. Constitution will be followed by the President or not. That is the issue. And that is why this unusual situation where the House of Representatives, by this resolution, is joining in on a legal action to let that be resolved by the judiciary branch of government. It all started in November of 2014 when the Department of Homeland Security wrote out a memo and sent it out to the fruited plain and said that the Department of Homeland Security would no longer enforce U.S. immigration law. The Department of Homeland Security is a branch, a portion of the administration. This unprecedented unilateral action by the executive branch was a nullification of immigration law of the United States. And it was not done by Congress. It was done by this administrative edict that came from the White House. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4 states that Congress, that's us, has the power to, quote, establish a uniform rule of naturalization in the United States. So what value is the law or the Constitution if the executive, who's supposed to enforce the law, not make it, we all learned that in 9th grade civics, sends out a memo saying it will no longer enforce law? The law of land is repealed by the administrative pen because the President doesn't like the law as written. Repealing a law is supposed to be a legislative action. That's Congress. It's not supposed to be an executive action. That is, if the Constitution's followed, which it is not under these circumstances. This illegal executive action will place a burden on the states that the action is taking place against, such as my home state of Texas, where the amnesty proclamation by the executive branch through its memo has been effected. The federal government is not going to pay for the benefits of these 5 million plus folks. That's the states will be forced, required, and obligated to pay for that. So the states will pay for the driver's licenses, government benefits, health care benefits for these newly legalized individuals. All of that money the state spends will be taken away from the ability to provide services for U.S. citizens and residents who are already legally in the U.S. So this action is a direct contravention of U.S. law. And Texas, my state, will be one of the hardest hit. That's why the governor of the state of Texas was the first to file a lawsuit, this lawsuit, against the unconstitutional action by the executive branch of government. And that occurred in 2014. The Constitution, to me, is very simple. It lays out an outline for democracy. Congress makes the laws. The executive branch faithfully executes the laws. The judiciary resolves disputes between government, other entities, and between the branches of government. So if U.S. immigration law is going to be changed, the Constitution states that it should be changed by the U.S. Congress. That is us. Even if the Congress doesn't act, that doesn't give the executive branch Burger King authority. Ask for 30 seconds more.
Gentleman, 1 minute.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
That doesn't give the President
Did you say Burger King? And if so, could you define that? I didn't hear that.
Excuse me. Mr. Speaker, the gentleman from
Texas,
Texas
Mr. Poe controls the time.
Stick around and listen, you'll find out. Burger King philosophy is the President wants it his way. He can't have it his way. He's got to follow the Constitution. He's a former constitutional law professor. He ought to know better. And that's what this lawsuit's about. That's why it's a constitutional issue. And that's why we should join in with those other governors in filing this lawsuit with an amicus brief to support the Constitution of the United States against executive memos from the executive branch. The Constitution, the executive branch should take care of the Constitution, not tear up the Constitution. And that's just the way it is. I'll yield back.
The gentleman from Texas reserves. The gentleman from Colorado is recognized.
I yield for purposes of a unanimous consent request. The gentlelady from California, Ms. Lofgren.
I ask unanimous consent that the statement of the Honorable John Conyers, ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, be